Welcome back to the channel, guys. ScooterBomb, and we are here on this little blue pre-bug. Just a reminder, it's a 70cc Stage 6 Mark II Pro, HPC crank, Stage 6 big intake, full sweep of Stage 6 in the CVT and clutch, and we've got a Polini CP21 carburetor. It's also fitted with the longer gears. This bike is built to be ridden. Having said that, recently this bike has been fouling plugs, so it's obviously running a little bit rich, and today I'm going to take you through tuning this pre-bug so we can get the most out of it. So recently I've got a few requests from you, the viewers, asking when am I going to do a video on how I go about tuning carburetors. So I figured today's the day. Let's get into it. Just before we get started, a bit of a disclaimer. I am no expert. I'm far from an expert in tuning carburetors. I've just had a fair bit of trial and error in building the scooters that you see on my channel. So I'm going to go through how I go about tuning the carburetors and what works for me, and then hopefully this will work for you guys too. Alright, so picture this. You've done your mods, you've bolted in your carburetor, your airbox, your exhaust, or you've done a complete 70cc upgrade. The first start, for me, I want my plug to look rich. That means it's safe. I want it to look a little bit like this guy here. So I think we can all agree that picture shows a very, very rich spark plug, but this is good because it's safe. And what I mean by that, we're not at risk of seizing the piston within the bore, or worst case, we're not at risk of melting a hole in the piston. So you've just done all your mods, you're super excited, you jump on a Facebook group, the Pre-Bug Performance group, you write a post with all your mods and you ask, what carb settings, what jet sizes does the group recommend? You're going to get 20 different responses and it's going to confuse the hell out of you. So what do? So the good people of the internet have given you their advice, but I want you to take it as a grain of salt. It's a ballpark figure only, and it's simply somewhere to start from. So this is because the people that have given you the advice, the only similarity between you and them is the bike and probably the components that you've used to build the bike. Everything else is different. They don't live next door to you. They probably don't even live in the same state as you. More often than not, they don't even live in the same country as you. Their climate is totally different and the elevation could be drastically different to where you live. So please, it's a ballpark figure, somewhere to start from only. The advice, however, should at least get your bike started, and with any luck, the bike should be running nice and rich, which is safe. So for me, the first place I like to start is on the needle. So let's get on the bike and let's confirm what we are seeing, and I'm going to take you through my process of starting the tune on the needle. Alright, step one, get your bike up to temperature and take it out for a ride. Now I'm sitting at 95 degrees Celsius here, 96, it might get to 100, but you notice my speed is at around 60 kilometers an hour, 65, which is roughly about 40 miles an hour. This is where I want to be for this part of the tuning process. I'm trying not to let the bike idle, and I'm not ripping the throttle on to get onto the main jet. I'm just being very deliberate, very gentle on the throttle. And there you go, the temperature's raising to about 100 degrees, which is pretty good. Now the road that I'm on is also important. It is relatively flat, not much hill. It doesn't increase, it doesn't decrease. I'm trying to really steady the ride. Again, I can't stress it enough. The idea is to try and just keep it on the needle. I'm just trying to tune the needle at the moment. And when I get back, I'm going to do a plug read, and I'm hoping to see the plug is brown, dark brown, almost rich, on the rich side, but not super rich. Now if I see a white plug or a grey plug, I've got some concerns, but
If I see a white plug, that temperature there is going to be a lot hotter right now than what it is. So we're at roughly 112, 110 degrees, which is where I expect it to be. If I start seeing 125 plus doing this, I'm probably too lean and I've got to richen out the mixture.
All right, so we're back from the ride. 10 kilometers is enough to give enough heat on the plug and enough fuel on the plug so we can really see what it looks like. If your plug is black and sooty like I showed at the beginning of this video, you're gonna wanna lean out your mixture. So what you're gonna do there is you're gonna lift the clip on the needle, which drops the needle onto the seat, which leans it out. But if your plug is white, gray, or even a little bit brown, you're running too lean. You're really at risk here. You're gonna have to richen the mixture up. So in this case, you're gonna drop the clip, which is gonna lift the needle on the seat and richen it up. But what does my plug look like? Well, here it is here. Now, as suspected, it's a darkish brown. It's a little bit rich, but it's not black and sooty like that first plug read that I showed you. Now, I know what you're saying. Yeah, that's too rich. It needs to be leaned out. And you're 100% right. This is because we're on a dead flat road. At no time did I rip the throttle. I never rode up a very steep hill. So that dark coffee brown would then turn to a lighter coffee brown if I was to push it a little bit harder up a hill, giving me the perfect burn. So for me, this dark brown, that's exactly what I want to be right now. I've given myself a little bit of headroom. So now, we're going to get the bike back on the road and I'll take you through how I start the tune on the Pilot Jet.
Pilot Jet tuning. Now I've got the choke on to simulate this. So if I pull away, it's not super clean. There's a hesitation there. Now this bike's close. It's not perfect though. But if it really coughs and farts, you're a long way away, right? You've got to come down several jets. This one, we'll just take it for a pull. This is with the choke on. It just takes a bit to get going. So we'll come back the other way, and this time we'll take the choke off. And there should be a bit of a difference. All right, so again, we pull away gently. Now it feels a whole lot crisper, but I can still feel a little bit of a hesitation there. Like a little bit of a cough and a fart. It's just not snappy. Right, so we'll give it a bit of a pull. You actually felt it that time. It actually had a hesitation. So we'll do it again. Now this is pretty close, but if it really coughs and farts doing that, you're going to have to come down. You're too rich on the Pilot Jet. Alright, so once you got there, you've got to go back to your shed. You've got to make a Pilot Jet change. And you're going to find every time you go down a Pilot Jet, it's going to clean up a little bit. But the challenge is, it's going to get better and better and better to the point where you actually see. Now I'm actually running rich now. I'm actually going to turn around because this is running rich. Feel that? It's really coughing, really struggling. So that was really good demonstration then, because it actually started to foul the plug. It was coughing, it was farting, and it almost stalled. And if it stalled, I wasn't getting it started again. was saying, it's going to get leaner and leaner, and it's going to get faster and faster, to the point where you go too far and it's too lean. I don't think you're going to burn a plug, or you're going to seize a cylinder or melt a piston on your pilot jet, but you will get to the point where the bike becomes impossible to start.
So this bike is obviously running too rich. We're currently running a 44 pilots. Now, because we fouled the plug, and what I was simulating there was just going in traffic, slow, start, stop, start, stop. As you would have seen, I would have fouled the plug and I would have been walking home. So it's no point going from a 44 down to a 42. For me, I'm going to drop straight away down to a 40. If the 40 is good, I'm going to leave it from there and then fine tune it with the mixture screw. Let's change that pilot jet. We'll get the bike back out on the road and see what the result is.
Alright, we've just dumped a couple of jets and we're just out here confirming the results. So I don't know if it's 100% right yet, but I just want to get to a place where I can give it a little pull, just like we did before, and see if we've made any meaningful changes. Okay, so let's re-simulate what we did before. We've already got the bike up to temp, you see there 108 degrees roughly. And last time we just did a series of these. Now the bike does feel a fair bit crisper. Doesn't feel too bad at all. I may have even gone a little bit too lean. So we'll give it a bit more of a pull this time. And it does feel a lot more snappy than before. So in that short strip, we probably got it up to about 70 Ks. So there is another way you can do this. You can just rip the throttle and pull the brake. So it's actually running lean now. We're paying attention to how quickly it drops back down to idle. Hanging, and now it's idling. So I'll do it without talking. And now it's idling. So we might be able to see it on the gauge. So roughly we're at, let's call it 1800 RPM. Let's see it hanging, and now it comes down. Hanging, and now it's down to idle. So what we want it to do is for it to drop straight down to idle. We want it to rip, then idle. Now, if it's rich, it's going to drop right down. It's going to hesitate. So it'll drop below the 1800 RPM, cough a bit, and then come back up. So we'll do it again. So yeah, we're a little bit lean now. So we'll take it back to the shed and we'll make some adjustments from here. But now we're on the right path. We've got a lean pilot. But from here it should be pretty easy to fix up on the mixture screw.
We are now back from the ride. Now, as I demonstrated on the ride, the bike would appear to be running a little bit lean. Hopefully this is something that I can fix up with the mixture screw. However, I may have to go back up to a 42 jet, but we're about to find out. Now, I did hint there is another method to do this which will help confirm it for me. So I'm going to start the bike We've got it on the stand and we're going to rev the throttle like we were out on the street, and from here we should be able to make some of these mixtures. Now, way back in the beginning of the video, I said if you go too lean, the bike will become hard to start, and I reckon we're about to demonstrate that right now. So we'll turn the ignition on and we're going to try and start the bike. I bet you it doesn't go first kick. There you go. So as expected, the bike becomes a little bit harder to start when it's leaner. That's another symptom. So we'll get down there, we'll adjust the screw, and then we'll give it a bit of a rev and see where we're at. Okay, so we've adjusted the mixture screw and we've gone about a quarter of a turn. Let's see what happens now. So it's pretty much coming straight down to idle. Feeling much better. Okay, so it just hung a little bit then. Okay, so we've just adjusted the pilot jet a little bit. A quarter of turn just to make it a little bit richer. We give it a couple of revs and you could just see it was hanging just a little bit before it dropped down to idle. So what I'm going to go back and do now is give it maybe a 1/8 of a turn, readjust the idle up again from there, and then give it another go. From here, I think it's going to be just right. Before we go on, I just want to stress, whenever you're doing any tuning, the bike must be at full operating temperature. So take the time, take it for a ride, get it up there at temperature, and then start that method. So that's the pilot tuning done, and I'm pretty confident that is right. If I want to be super critical, however, I actually think I might be a 41 pilot jet, but as far as I know, Polini don't make a 41. They only make a 40 and a 42. So I'm a little bit on the rich side of the 40, and I think I'd be a little bit on the lean side of the 42. So where it's sitting now, I'm pretty confident with it. So I want to give credit where credit's due. If you guys aren't aware, there's a channel called ScooterStreet. I'm going to put a link to their video up there on how to tune a pilot jet. It's got a lot of good information. Go give it a watch. From here, we're moving on to tuning the main jet, and I've got a two-part tuning process for that as well. Part one, we're going to take the bike for a rip, and this time I do mean a rip. We are going to rip it onto full throttle. However, we're not going to do it for any real extended period of time, and we are definitely not going to load it up going up a hill. So essentially, we're going to take it on a spirited ride. We're going to ride the streets, we're going to rip on the throttle and back off. We're going to go for about 200 meters and then back off, and keep doing that. The whole time we do that, we're watching the temperature gauge just to see how it reacts. What we don't want to see is a temperature spike.
All right, now I'm on the main jet. As you can see, I'm not afraid to give it a little bit of a rip. Just off and on, off and on. And if we look at my temp gauge, we can see how it's responding. So it's about a good little pull there, and again, all I'm really doing is a spirited ride on and off the main jet. Kind of giving it a bit of heat, but not too bad either. Now there is some hills in this one, but they're not extreme. They're just normal things that you'd find on a normal ride. They're on and off. So we'll stick it all the way up here. Temperature gauge is certainly responding, but I don't see anything that is alarming. Alright, so if I'm pushing really hard here, and currently we're 120, by the time I start pushing this up a hill, I should expect to see maybe 150. So this is that headroom that I'm talking about at the beginning of the vid, where I like to give myself a little bit of room when I'm really getting into it up a hill.
Alright, we are back from the ride. Now you guys have seen the plug reads from the tune to this point. Put a comment down below with your predictions on what you think the spark plug is going to look like after that run. So I basically just rode this bike like I stole it. Full throttle, on and off. 200 meters and then back riding off, letting it cool down. At no point did I ride it full ball up a really long hill, or did I give full throttle for any really long extended period of time. So I was constantly monitoring how the bike felt, and I was looking for any big temperature spikes that might indicate that the bike is dangerously lean. Now I wasn't too concerned, I didn't see anything there that I thought was too dangerous, but what does the plug look like? Well, there you go. It's lean. Now it's not scary lean, it's just a little bit lean, but I want you to consider if I had to push this bike up a really steep hill, really hard for a long period of time, what do you think that plug would have looked like then? It would have been white, and I probably would have seized the piston or maybe even melted a hole in it. Now, if you guys have got this far and your plug is looking like a wet brown color, you are exactly where you want to be, because from here, you're going to push the bike hard up a really steep long hill. And that rich burn that you see on the plug is going to go to that perfect coffee burn, which is exactly where you want to be. But for me, where does that leave me?
So it leaves me wanting to make a big jump on the main jet. Now I'll tell you, initially I went to a 120, that is a massive increase. The bike would start, it would run, but it was pretty hard to ride. It was coughing and farting. So now we're at a 114. Now there's still some coughing and farting, but as you can see, it's going okay. But the big thing is we're not at temperature yet, so we're still at 70 degrees. It's still responding to the throttle. There is a little bit of unhappiness. It's a little bit rich, but that's at this temperature. We'll turn around, we'll go back the other way. Still a little bit grumpy, a little bit rich, but I actually think I can work with this, because as the temperature comes on, it's going to get better and better. Alright, we are going, but if I'm going to be honest, I think it's just a little bit too rich. That's pretty much full throttle. And we're fouling the plug. I definitely don't want to stop here. It's a bit too far to walk. Once we get to this bit, we should be alright. So there you go. That's what a rich plug looks like. It's not really responsive to the throttle. It's definitely not happy, as you can see. I'm actually trying not to get it too much on the main jet because I don't want to foul the plug. It's really loud at the moment too, like really loud. So now I've swapped to a 110 main jet, and the difference is actually quite astonishing. The bike is much more snappy than it was with the 114, and it feels like we have something that's quick again. Much better, much cleaner. Now, probably something that I didn't show before on the 114 is much of the temperature gauge, but it was very hard to get any heat into the cylinder. It just wasn't having it. The added fuel was just cooling it down much too much. Now we can get that heat back in. We're still relatively cold at the moment because we've just got on it. So the other big difference that I'm noticing is the bike's actually a little bit quieter. When it was really rich, it was really loud. Now not so much. So this is where we almost fouled the plug. We've done exactly the same route and the bike's accelerating it up now quite fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to ride it around for a bit. I'm going to generate some temperature heat, put a few kilometers on it, and then we're going to do a plug read and just see what we've got. Because at the moment I think we've got something that we can work with. The bike actually feels alright. Alright, I don't know if you guys can feel this. It's fouling the plug again. So yeah. Very rich. Very, very rich. And we're gonna stall. Can't save it. And she's dead. So 110 is still too rich.
So from a 120 we took another big step. We came all the way down to 110 and now we had a rideable bike again. It didn't feel too bad, a little bit on the doughy side, but eventually the inevitable happened and it fouled the plug. And just then I just went and put a 106 jet in it, and I can tell you we're back where we want to be. The bike feels absolutely crisp, it's got the power, we're back in the right area. So this is what the plug looks like with a 106 in it. It is exactly where I want to be. It's a little bit on that wet side, it's got a nice burn, it is perfect. So from here, I'm now going to confirm the tune and we're going to rip it up a steep hill. We're going to do this over and over and over again. I'll probably only show it to you guys once because you don't need to see it more than that, and we will see how we go.
All right, team. I'm pretty sure now the main jet is set, but I move on now to confirming the main jet, and the way I do that is I find a lot of hills. Again, same as before, we watch the temperature gauge and we send it up some hills and we just see how the bike responds. And then at the end of this, if everything is right, we do a plug check and and we don't have to touch this again. So the bike is so much more snappier now with a 106 jet in it. Feels nice. Plenty of power. And right now we're just getting it up to temperature. And the whole time we're going downhill so we can go up a good one. So the hill that I'm going to go up is about 500 meters long, a bit more than just a quarter mile. And we're going to watch the temperatures and then just see how the bike responds. Now you can see the difference in the temperature with these jets, right? This is way cooler than before. But here is our hill. 500 meters. At the bottom, let's go. We're going to be cut short. Look at that temperature, barely even moved. That is a nice feeling bike.
And now I did that over and over and over again. Unfortunately, the battery went dead on the camera, so I can't show you more than one go of it. But every time, the result was the same. We get to temperature, we get to the top, we turn around, we cool it off, we go down the bottom, and we go again. And this is what the plug looks like now. That is that really nice coffee brown tune that I've been talking about from the start. And the temperatures, they're right in that Goldilocks zone. They never really exceeded 125, 130. It was always excellent. So there you have it, guys. That is my 6-point tuning process from someone that is not an expert. We started at the internet, we got the advice, and we plugged it into the bike. With any luck, it is rich, and from there we can work backwards. The reason I like to start on the needle for the tune is because the needle affects the whole tune on everything. It does affect the pilot, and it does affect the main jet. So if I was to start at the pilot, I get that set in place, and then I was to go set up the needle and make an adjustment on the needle, I have to go back and do my pilot again. And the same goes if I was to go to the main jet first. By the time I've adjusted the main jet, go to the needle, make an adjustment there, then I'm going to have to adjust the main jet again because that's going to make a change. One thing I should probably mention is when you guys are doing this, make sure you have a box of spark plugs because you're probably going to burn through a few of them. I've got 3 in my hand and there's another one in the bike. All 3 of these have been through this bike and I've killed them all. Most cases you can kind of fix them up, you can get them going again, but after a while they'll just give up and the bike kind of tells you it's not happy, put a new plug in it and you're back on your way. Especially when you've ridden the bike quite rich, there's only so many times you can do that before the plug says, see you later. So I hope if you've watched this, you've got something out of it. For me, when I was trying to learn how to do this, I found the videos very confusing and they made the assumption that I was an expert. They made the assumption that I could hear the tune. They made the assumption that you can feel the tune. They talk about a lean bog, a rich bog. I was like, what is the difference? So I really wanted to break it down with temperature and then the plug reading, so you guys can see what a lean tune does in terms of the temperature on the plug and what a rich tune does in terms of the temperature on the plug, and then show you how this feels. The one thing that I've picked up while re-watching the footage is when the bike is lean, it has like a real moo cow sound. It goes, Rah! But when it's right on the money, it's actually and when it's really rich, it is incredibly loud. That's the things that I picked up from doing this video and watching the footage back. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed it. If you've lasted this long, see you on the next time.